My apologies, guys. We'll give you a minute to come back in here. I have no idea what that technical difficulty was, but this is the beautiful world of the internet, I guess. Let me just let people know in the old chat. So just to start anew, my name is Rachel O'Leary. We're here in my fish room with Kevin Kelly, who's going to be doing a live install for me. It's my first new tank in quite some time, and I'm super excited about it. And this entire thing is sponsored by Ultum Nature Systems, which is very exciting. They are a super nice brand of both aquariums, lights, substrate, as well as plants. And since this is sponsored by them, we will be talking a fair amount about the products. And you guys know I almost never do that, so this is kind of a big deal. Without further ado, I'll turn this over to Kevin Kelly of Brooklyn Hardscape, and he will do the demo for you guys, and we'll get started. Kevin, thank you for joining us.
Rachel, this actually isn't the first tank that I've done for you.
No, the one that broke.
Yeah. Hopefully this one won't break. I seem to like doing immersed tanks for you. So what we're doing is a pinjing, excuse me. The easiest way to explain it is every bonsai is a pinjing, but not all pinjings are bonsai. It's basically a gardening style of creating an environment, like a miniature. If you're into aquascaping, it would be called a diorama. For this particular one, we're not actually going to be planting the tank. We're going to be planting a piece of lava stone that I carved. And we're going to be doing it in the UNS 60S. It's a pretty awesome little tank. It's about 2 feet long, 14 inches deep. It's a really awesome tank. I had to do a water test, so it's a little dusty inside. But these tanks are really great. They have the 45-degree metered edge, 91% clarity. It has a nice little sheen to it. I'm just going to unwrap it.
It also has that 91%, the diamond glass, is that how you say it? And it uses the German silicone. So their goal is that as much of the viewing in the aquarium is unobstructed from the actual construction of the aquarium. And you guys know I have a lot of like really basic aquariums here. This is quite honestly the nicest aquarium I have ever had put in my fish room. And to say I'm a bit giddy would be an understatement. They're really, really beautiful. And they're also, all their sizes are designed to sort of facilitate a space for you to be able to create an aquascape. So they're more of an aquascaping, I would think, sort of company than so much as a fish tank. It's sort of beyond that.
For me, I believe that UNS is the aquascaping supplier to the United States. They offer pretty much everything you need to have a successful aquascape for your store. They stock a lot of stores on both coasts and some in the Midwest. I find them in some pretty random places, even in Columbus, Ohio. And definitely, one of my absolute favorite things about them, and it sounds kind of stupid, is that they come with a mat.
Really?
Yeah, they come with a
That's
mat.
actually a really nice touch.
Yeah. A lot of the other rimless companies, you gotta buy the mat separate. I like to get things that are all together. I don't like getting nickeled and dimed for all this stupid stuff. So, some of the other things that we're going to be using, pretty much everything from here is from Ultum. We're going to have the potted Monte Carlo. We're going to use some dwarf hairgrass and tissue culture. And then, of course, we're also going to be using the Titan light, which is above me. We'll lower it once I finish the install. This is a great light. It has a range of between 12,000 and 9,000.
9,000 to 12,000 color range.
Yeah.
And it uses like 200 bulbs.
Yeah.
And it has an aluminum build, which I think is really important, especially in my fish room. Not only is it sleek, but if you see on the top how vented it is, it allows for that heat transfer so it doesn't overly heat up your aquarium, and it can be hung really seamlessly. The other thing that's really cool is the actual power cord itself is clear rather than black, so it's easy to sort of disguise it. So everything about these systems is set up sort of classy, if you will. It's meant to really have the focus be on what's inside of the aquarium instead of the things that hold or light the aquarium, which I think is pretty neat. And again, this is without, you guys know I'm using LED shop lights. I have just basic tanks around my fish room. There's nothing fancy. There's, you know, you don't have to have a system like this, but I can tell you if you're going to have like one really nice tank, definitely invest in something like this because it's super nice. This stand is not their stand. This was a manufactured stand that we had to throw together because of an issue. So we're not going to focus on that right now. I may talk about that in a future video. It was one that Kevin modified that he had in his shop so that we would have something to place it on. Do you know how many gallons that is?
It's almost 10.
Almost 10. So this will be a low-tech aquarium, guys. You know that I am not running CO2. You know that I'm not running FERTs. And that's part of the reason that Kevin hung the light the way that he did, so that it'll adequately light the plants, but it won't be overkill for...
We're gonna lower it a little bit. I'm just a giant.
This is the UNS, which one?
60S.
60S, yes, that is correct, Adalberto. It's so nice to see all of you here in the chat. I'm going to try and pay attention to your comments. I know Kevin has been working hard the past few days to get this stone carved. This is feather stone, which is sort of like lava, but it's 3 different stones combined into one in some weird process of nature. And he has been working non-stop to get this ready for us, so it's a real treat.
The stone was originally about 3.5 feet by 2 feet by a foot deep. The original plan was actually to suspend it from your ceiling, but after about a month of testing different products, I decided this tank's going to be here for a while. Rachel likes to keep aquascapes going for long periods of time, so I thought it would be a better idea to just build a nice little pedestal for it to sit on, so you can keep it for as long as possible. The monofilament was just sagging way too much.
Yeah, I bet you'd have to have some crazy high test line to hang something like that. This thing's not that heavy, guys. If you think about it, it's like basically like pumice or lava rock. It's really, really light despite its bulk. And I'm sure that you noticed as well that for this install, he has it on a glass plate, and he also had to actually carve a hole in order to put a dowel through these rocks to support them properly.
It's also very sharp, so until it grows out, Rachel has to be a little bit careful. Lava stone is glass. I know it's hard for people to think about that, but and like any kind of sharded glass, it's very, very sharp. So the way we're going to plant this is there's actually not going to be any plants that are going to go in the water. What we're going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of sphagnum moss into these grooves that I've carved, Monte Carlo up front, some hairgrass in the back, and a little bit of change of events. The bonsai took a little beating in the traveling, so I'm going to have to work on them some more, and then I'm going to come back in a few weeks and we're going to reinstall them. But I have some saplings that I'm going to put in to get them going.
Hey man, I bet I could throw some carnivorous plants on there.
Yeah, if you want to use RO water, you're just going to go nuts. This is going to look nothing like I planned.
See, that's the problem when you give me a gift, guys. I'm going to change it into a typical Rachel O'Leary, like, whatever.
The sphagnum moss is great for wicking water. So this thing's going to have pretty high flow. So I had to put a little pool here and a little pool there to slow down the flow so it doesn't splash everywhere on Rachel's floor. I think that she'd appreciate that.
So you guys know I had that tank disaster where I lost that whole 75 of fish. So now I installed water monitors to let me know when I have a spill. So if that does happen, I'll know. But unfortunately, it seems like my water monitor is a bit schizophrenic because last night it was going off in the middle of the night, bonkers style, and there was no water on the floor.
It was me. I came at night and I was trimming your plants.
They need it.
Unlike most people, I actually enjoy trimming plants. It's a happy place for me.
So after we're done this live stream, for those of you that can't, that couldn't join us, we will be doing, or I will be doing, a full-length video. As you can see, I have the little action cam set up on top of the big boys tank. Kevin has an action cam set up to the side, and I do have my main camera going as well, so that we can try and get a bunch of neat angles so you can really see what's happening here. So if you're enjoying this, make sure you stop and check that video out once I get all of that insane amount of footage edited.
I'll also be giving Rachel some of the footage of me building and carving. It's going to be kind of a
Yeah. He's currently adding Sphagnum Moss, which is a long fiber moss. I use it a lot in my carnivorous plants, and I also use it to mount my orchids and stuff. It's just dried up Sphagnum Moss, and it's super awesome because it holds a lot of moisture. So it can be a great medium for plants to stick to when you're not using soil. If you guys have been watching my channel, just last week I made a DIY moss stick out of this same material to attach my vining plants to.
One of the things I'm going to be doing in a little bit, and so I have these wells. I'll be putting a little bit of the sphagnum moss in each one, and on top of that I'm going to be using the UNS contra soil, aqua soil. It's going to be pretty great. This thing will be ready for viewing pretty fast. Contra soil doesn't clog up, or doesn't cloud up the water at all. It comes in a couple of different sizes. We're going to use the larger pellets.
Awesome.
It's a pretty good all-around aqua soil alternative to some of the bigger names. It's fairly priced.
It also does reduce the hardness, but it doesn't have the ammonia leach that some of the other soils do. They say it's really common to be able to stock within 24 hours of adding this soil. And it does come in a bunch of different sizes. And I just shared a product link, I'll share it again, where you can look at the different sizes of bags. And it also comes, as Kevin mentioned, in 3 sized grains as well as 2 colors. So it really depends on sort of the scale of your scape, what you're planting, and all of that, which you choose. Thank you for that super chat, Unfiltered Aquarist. I really appreciate it. And I agree, everyone smash that like button. I don't think I've ever said that before in my whole life.
Smash the like button?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say it all the time now to you.
Yeah, Dan, I agree. All 3 of those products are quite good. Contra, Tropical, and Brightwell. I've never used the Contra soil before, so I'm pretty excited to see how it does. You guys know I try everything, and I give you really honest feedback. So stay tuned, because I will be sure to let you know what I think of Kevin's design, as well as all the products.
It's okay. It's an honor just to be here doing a tank for you.
Well, I'm excited to have something in that little nook there. If you guys have been around for a while, you know that I used to have 8 tanks there on a rack, and I took them out just because it was too congested. But I think that this is going to be the perfect thing to have in that little nook. I'll still have plenty of access to the Shelleys. The big boys will have something to stare at and admire. And it'll just be a really cool focal point in when I'm shooting my my intros, because that'll be right behind my throne. I will do some close-ups once he has. We're shooting tons and tons of footage right now from all angles. So once, you know, in the more produced video, that'll be a bit easier. But once he starts planting and stuff, I can move you guys over to see a bit closer. Actually, I'm afraid to mess with the focus. Whoa, that was too close. Too close. There we go. Is that better, guys?
For me, every kind of scape, something like this or another, I try to do something that's a little bit different, something that'll challenge me, never the same thing twice. And this has really been a challenge. I'm really excited to see how this grows in.
I'm excited about it too. You know, this is so different from anything else I have. You guys know I've been playing around with like wabi kusa. I've been playing around with a lot of houseplants. So for me, it's super exciting to have something that in my mind is like a meld of all of those things. It's going to have a water feature that I can stock. It has really unique rock work. It's going to have some plants that I've never worked with before. And, you know, immersed growth plants. It's going to be really exciting. This is truly brand new to me. And when you've been in the hobby as long as I have, that just doesn't happen that often. So this is a real treat. So I just really like to thank Kevin and Ultum Nature Systems for giving me this gift.
I think one of the things that you're going to like is people don't photograph them very often, but Monte Carlo has really beautiful flowers.
I've never seen a flower.
They're about the size of a pinhead, and they're white, and they're very pretty, tiny little things. You have to get really in there to see them. But I've done something like this before, and my new obsession has been wabikusa as well, and I really enjoy like all the different kinds of things flowering. I do have a rotella though that keeps flowering whenever I'm not there.
I've got to set up a spy cam. Isn't that always the way though?
Well, it's the worst.
So I probably should have trimmed that tank behind you if I would have thought about it.
Give me a couple beers later and I'll trim it.
So what you guys may not know is I've had 20 to 30 people here all day for New Jersey Aquatic Gardening Club. Is that right? Is that how yeah.
New Jersey Aquatic Gardeners Association.
Is it association? Okay, that
No, it's club.
It's club.
It's a club?
It's NJAGC. Anyway,
I was giving you guys way more credit.
I've been up since 6 a.m. when I had to start the fire for the smoker, because we smoked a bunch of pork and chicken. There's a whole ton of food. There's a whole passel of people in my backyard right now. But we thought that this would be a great opportunity to share with you guys something really unique. So after this install, we're going to be out by the fire, maybe taking a swim, having some food. And I really encourage you guys to check out your local clubs or see if there is a local club, because I have to tell you, there's not much more fun than hanging out with a whole bunch of people that are into the same or similar things as you are. It's been a really nice day.
Almost through it.
You thought feather rock would be too rough for fish? Well, Michelle, the thing is that only one little portion is in the water, and I probably won't stock a less than 10-gallon aquarium necessarily with fish. And if I did choose fish, it would certainly not be ones that would inhabit the rock. And since it's not all throughout the scape, it looks like there'd probably be about 7 gallons of water minus the rock. So, I mean, I'll most likely do shrimp in here. I was actually considering maybe some sort like micro crabs, or maybe some little teeny tiny fish. I don't know. We'll have to, I'm not prepared in that end. We won't be stocking this tonight. You'll have to make sure you're subscribed with that notification bell on if you want to know what I'm doing there.
Well, I actually thought of that. So it's rough on top, but the bottom piece is actually, I sanded it down.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
So before I became friends with Rachel, I was very much, fish were just decorations in aquariums. It was more about the plants and the scape. And most of my tanks, aquascapes in my time, have actually never had fish in them. But then I became friends with Rachel, and I've really come to love fish. And I take care of them. They don't die on me all the time now. I get a little stressed when they're sick. It's been kind of great. I enjoy aquascaping even now more because I think of the fish more often.
Well, and I think it's really, really cool as well, just to derail for a second, that big contest like the IAPLC, the International Aquatic Plant Layout Contest, now actually really factors into their scoring appropriate fish choice. And I think that really is important for the entire art of aquascaping and the entire mentality of it, because at the end of the day, while it's great to make a really beautiful aquascape, if the inhabitants you put in it are going to die, what's the point? So you guys know me, all I like to do is talk about fish and how fish interact with their environment, and choosing fish to suit the environment or creating an environment to encourage the fish. So this will be a really unique challenge for me that I'm pretty excited about.
Our friend Ricky is here as well, and I can see
My friend Ricky. He was my friend first.
Anyway, I can see him judging me, judging my application of Sphagnum Moss.
Terrible. Never seen it so good.
So if you guys remember correctly, I went and visited Ricky, and we went down into Brooklyn or Manhattan to go to the flower shops, and he's really responsible. He was the inspiration for my big Hillstream tank. He's also partially responsible for my current obsession with houseplants, and he's just an all-around really cool dude. I showed you guys his super ethical, super awesome, filtered and heated fish bowl that houses some really cool endlers and a bunch of shrimp. So Ricky's been my friend since my kids were toddlers. They were teeny tiny. He was one of the first people I met when I got back into fish keeping as an adult. So I'm going to feature him again on my channel. Maybe in October, I think. Assuming he's up for the fun time. But, you know, also, I have to say that Ricky is one of the people that's responsible for me starting or continuing to import fish, because he nagged me every day about getting specific species for years until I was like, fine, I'll just import everything. And so you can thank Ricky for a lot of the wonderful things you see down here, at least indirectly.
Speaking of Ultum, I'm actually going to be doing an Ultum tank with Ricky next weekend.
There you go. So guys, are you doing that on Instagram or are you doing that on YouTube?
Well, we're doing it for Ultum Angels, not...
Oh, gotcha. Oh, your Ultum tank's getting a reboot?
No,
He's got a 150-gallon now.
Oh, man.
I'm just all over the place now.
That's
Everything-
next week?
Next weekend, yeah.
Are you going to do a live stream?
It's going to be taking me three different days, so we'll
Oh,
do
okay.
live stream and maybe the final scaping.
Awesome.
But I got to do the background, and then we're going to do the hardscape, and then...
Make sure you guys are following Brooklyn Hardscape Aquascaping on Instagram so that you can see that, because it's going to be super sweet.
So this is the contra soil. I just cut my finger on this.
One of the nice things about the sorry to hear that. Do you need a Band-Aid?
Yeah.
One of the nice things about the contra soil is it's a soil that does not have to be rinsed. Let me zoom in on that. Ow.
This is the larger grain. This
Oh,
is
it's
perfect
beautiful.
for what we're doing. It really is an easygoing soil. I like using it.
Are you gonna? That's fine. I have a vacuum. You're gonna put that on top of the sphagnum and some of the wells that you've created
the
up
two
there.
wells. I have saplings. One of the plans for this, it's kind of as I carved it, the plan for this kind of evolved. Like any art, things change. You have, Bob Ross accidents, like happy little accidents. So I think one of the things that happened is I decided that I kind of wanted to do a whole tree line. So I brought some saplings. We'll get them started while I'm trying to like rehabilitate the bonsai. Although Rachel isn't going to fertilize this, I know she won't. Maybe I'll pay her daughters to like do a little.
No,
bit of
I mean, if
fertilization.
you tell me exactly the schedule it needs, I'll put a reminder in my phone. But here's the thing, when you run as much as I do, and inside, outside, and are a parent to 2 teen daughters, it's exceptionally difficult to remember a dosing schedule.
Right.
So if it's not simple, it's not going to happen. So that's why I tend to stick to my very low-tech setups. It's not that I don't admire or aspire to having higher-tech setups. You know, my kids only have 2 years left at home. Who knows? Maybe once they move out, I'll have that empty nest syndrome and decide I need a bunch of CO2 canisters in my life. Oh, yes, I know. The world will end.
That would be amazing sauce. This is my Aquascaping to-go kit.
Oh, you should say, I should get mine. We can compare. Mine is from a, like a mechanics tool gig.
Oh, mine's a
So-
carpenter's.
Mine was like free, so I use it a lot.
Oh, mine was $10.
Well, that's very nice. I like yours better than mine. Thanks,
Mine's just
Kevin.
canvas. Oh, I'm here to make you feel good about yourself. Did you know that? I put things too far away.
Do you need a hand?
I got it.
Let me just make sure my little camera is still rolling.
It's blinking.
Is it? Then we're good. All right, so what do you, that is the little,
A little ficus. Oops. Ficus down.
oh, they're so binka cute.
And what we'll do is, I mean, this also gives me a reason to come to visit you. We'll start, these grow really, really fast. They'll grow I have the Titan light in a couple of my tanks in my studio, and they really do work. Like, things grow like crazy. I did a video last week about a tank that took a beating that I recovered from. And that's like my fastest growing tank. It's a cube, it's an old GLA cube. But it's the Titan Light really does its job. I don't have any complaints with it. And it's not that badly priced.
I think my big boys are eyeing you up. You look like a mighty snack, Kevin.
I got a lot of meat for them to munch on. I'm a little tubby these days.
So I'm looking through. Does anyone have anything in particular they have a question about right at this very second that is just like a burning need to know? In the meantime, what do you have there?
So I was getting to it. I have it's Ultum Nature Systems. I have the mini Christmas moss. Mini Christmas moss, for whatever reason, has become one of my favorite mosses lately. Underwater, it stays pretty fluffy and small. When it's grown immersed during a heavy water flow, it's like very, very tight. It almost looks like Pelia, like mini Pelia. It's really wonderful. I'm a big, big fan. We're gonna put the moss down first to get an idea of where I'm gonna put other things. The nice thing about moss is you can really, really predict where it's gonna grow. It always wants to like bend downwards. So if you put it in like choice spots, you can jam it into corners. Pretty much anywhere where it can get a grip, you can put it down. Especially for projects like this, mini Christmas moss really it does the trick. It doesn't need strong direct light. So as once I put the other trees in and these trees start to grow, the strong indirect light is enough for it to grow.
We had a question in the chat. Where does that rock come from? Like what region of the world?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
I think it's pretty much anywhere where there's fast volcanic activity. For us, I know that you can get some in Ohio. You can be found in Ohio, somewhere, like a lot of places in South Asia. It's a fairly common stone. It's just never used in aquascaping because it's really, really sharp.
All right. No, I don't have burning fear of things falling. For those who asked in the chat, you know.
It's falling?
Yeah, like that falling over. I know that it is constructed with a dowel that goes from below the bottom rock through the top. It's pretty darn steady. So I'm all right though. The fish tank through the floor. I have concrete floors, so I'm not at all afraid of that.
But I have seen a fish tank go through a floor.
I haven't.
I have.
There's a reason I keep most of my aquariums in my basement. The only way they have to go is nowhere.
I had a guy who hired me to do some work for him, and he didn't take my advice, and his fish tank went through the floor.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
That's
floor.
a bad day.
Yeah, that's a really bad day. So next what we're going to use is, I'm a huge fan of tissue cultures in general. I'm using some of the UNS's Parvolo, Elacaris parvolo. This stuff is a pretty easygoing plant, and with tissue culture, the most important thing to remember is you got to remove the gel. I normally just give it a good shake in water.
I'm sorry. So if you guys don't know what tissue culture is, or if this is new to you, tissue culture plants are ones that are grown in basically a lab environment. So they're in an agar, generally a sterile medium so they're grown completely in a sterile environment, so there's absolutely no risk of algae or snails or anything like that. So if you're really wanting to start with a very, very clean plant, it's the best way to go. It also means that they're often available for international shipping, so they're available in a wider range. And while it may look like the plants are small, they tend to take root and grow very, very quickly.
Fast.
And it just really gives you a great way to start a planted aquarium without that initial contamination that often comes from growing in a real aquarium.
I just like it because there's no snails, no algae, no complaints. Most of the tissue cultures you get are normally okay. UNS has been they've been giving me good stuff. I think almost all my tanks now have UNS tissue cultures in them. Even last night, I had an install last night, and the install was 100% UNS products. This guy, it's his first planted tank, and we did 125 gallon.
Awesome.
It was a lot. It was hours.
Can tissue culture plants be planted in a terrarium? Yeah, absolutely.
They're used in all different kinds of products now. You can get pretty much any kind of plant.
So I shared a link to their various plants. They also have a retailer locator if you're trying to find where to buy them. Someone asked the best plants to use without CO2, and I think your mileage there will really vary. The things that I grow in my fish room, most people tell me I shouldn't be able to, and I utilize no CO2 or no ferts. But I think in general, a great starter plant are things like Anubias and narrow leaf Java fern. Mosses I actually think are a bit more challenging simply because they're more prone to algae. But those things, and some of the crypts are super easy.
Mosses work pretty well. The key to moss is just making sure the moss is in good flow. Moss is a dirt attractor. It just piles up on a lot of dirt, and that's how it gets algae.
Someone asked if I was going to be helping with this install. No, I just get to sit around being lovely. Yeah, Sagittarius subulata is a very great plant with no CO2, but I find that most of what is sold as subulata is not actually subulata. It gets taller than it's supposed to. But it's still a great plant regardless.
It's super easy. It's one of the easiest plants to grow.
I mean, you can see it going bonkers right there.
Oh, yeah.
It sends flowers up to the surface.
Rachel and I, as far as aquarium team, we're still very, very on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Takes all kinds.
Does anybody have any questions for me about what I do or how I made this? Or
Someone asked what was used to fuse the two stones together.
so I drilled a hole. I have a 2-foot dowel in here. I drilled a hole almost all the way through until about here, and then all the way through the base into the acrylic stand. And wiggled it on so it's really, really tight. On the dowel itself, I actually put grooves into the dowel for gripping, and then I used Gorilla Glue and let it cure for 48 hours so that it's aquarium safe.
Key there is you need to let it cure for 48 hours, folks. Remember that. Not all glues are immediately aquarium safe.
No. So what we're doing here, what's going to be nice is, with the hairgrass, once it really starts going, it'll grow all different directions, but after some time it'll go up, but it'll also start growing with the flow, and it'll have a nice little cascade over the edge. One of the great things about this plant is it's extremely versatile. I even have it growing in my Wabikusa.
That's great.
Yeah.
So someone asked where your store was. Kevin operates his store out of Brooklyn, but it is by appointment, and you can find him at brooklynhardscape.com, or you can contact him to set up an appointment. It's a studio as opposed to like your more general store. That was unfortunate.
Yeah, I've cut myself pretty bad making the stone, so my fingers are just mush.
What was the dowel made from? Is it acrylic?
It's an acrylic dowel,
Yeah.
and then I plastic welded it so that it's not going anywhere.
Kevin, how many tanks do you personally own?
Like at home or
Just
my
in
studio?
general.
Oh, I just slimmed down. I went from 28 to like 13, 14. And then I have two Wabikusas, a third one about to happen. I have a pond on my balcony, and then I have a little paludarian thing going on.
Someone asked, there's a green and a blue Gorilla Glue. Which one do you suggest?
The traditional Gorilla Glue?
The original? The OG?
The OG.
Also, someone mentioned in the chat that you're having an aquascaping class September 4th.
Yes. I do classes at my studio. It's a really great chance for like people to get a hands-on approach. I've been fortunate enough in my job that I've got to escape around the world, all different countries, and I picked up a lot of tricks. I try to pass them on. I find that in the world of aquascaping, especially here in the States, it's very competition-centric. So the information and The advice that you get a lot of times from people is more about getting a tank set up for a competition, not having a beautiful aquascape that might last for a year or two. So that's what I'm trying to teach.
And someone asked in the chat that they're just starting an interest into aquascaping. They've seen so many different stones, and they asked how they choose the best one for the scape you create. And my answer is that you choose the one that you like.
I think when you're choosing hardscape, you should have a clear idea of what you want. And then from there, you pick the stone and the light and the aquarium to fit it. This is a really, really good example. I find that this light and the tank and the stone, they all are coordinated together. It's any kind of scape, there's a light for every scape, there's a stone for every scape. Aquascaping, like many things, you have to just plan out very well.
Here's a good question for you. What would you call your style of aquascaping?
Oh, God. I don't know. I don't think about it too much. I do stuff. I guess I'm more on the artsy-fartsy aquascaping.
Freeform jazz.
Yeah, like
Someone
jazz.
asked if you have a YouTube channel. Yes, it's Brooklyn Hardscape.
I just did a reboot. I'm starting to do videos again.
Good.
I had a break for a while.
Someone also asked your opinion on planted vases.
Planted vases are, I think, really, really fun. I think that's a whole other kind of challenge, especially vases with a curved end. It's something that if you can make something look good in a curved surface, then it's really, really satisfying. I really like them.
Which species of ficus are you using?
It's a Salficus. I've been practicing it all day and I can't say it. I'll make a comment.
All right,
As soon as I
he'll
go.
put it down in the comments for you guys.
I practice it all day.
No, you're fired.
No. That install last night took a lot more out of me than I thought it would.
What are your opinions on fake plants?
Do I have to answer this question?
No.
Okay. Pass.
Thoughts on Blackwater setups?
I love Blackwater setups. One of the things that I really enjoy, for me, an aquascape is more about a hardscape for me. I'm all about like a good hardscape centric scape. I'm about to flood a tank, for instance, that's only going to have 1/20th of the entire scape is going to be planted.
What's the smallest tank you have scaped?
That would be a UNS 16T. It's like 1 3/8 a gallon, I think, or 2 gallons.
That's pretty small.
It's
Is your
tiny.
water super soft in Brooklyn? I assume that it
It's
is.
basically RO water.
Yeah.
I can do anything I want. I'm leaving Brooklyn probably next year, and I'll be sad about losing that water.
Salicifolia?
Thank you.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Roro.
It's been a long day.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm on hour almost 14 and it's not even 8 o'clock. So I'm with you. Tessa's asking why fake plants are frowned upon. It's not that they're frowned upon, Tessa. It's that we just really, really love live plants. And when you can do a good job with live plants, it really has a lot of payoffs, both in that they're very beautiful, but also they're natural spawning medias for the fish. They also utilize nutrients within the aquarium that can help provide a more stable environment for our fish. And there's certainly plenty of fish that don't appreciate live plants, but a lot of them really do. So it's not that we think that they're bad, we just prefer to use the real thing. The reality is if you're setting up an aquarium in your home, you should do what you like
I
and
agree.
what you can do, because at the end of the day, I'm not in your living room. I'm not looking at your aquarium. Neither are any of the trolls on the internet. You need to do what you really enjoy.
How's that looking so far?
It's looking great. What method do you prefer for attaching plants to rock underwater? Super glue or firing them? I don't know what that means. Maybe they mean tying them?
Actually, I prefer to use rubber bands. I use dental rubber bands. I use the biodegradable ones. So when they start to degrade, I don't have to remove them. They dissolve around the same time that a plant will attach.
How long have you been in the hobby, Kevin?
I started doing planted tanks, 2004, 2003.
Someone asked for a close-up, so I'm just zooming in for a second.
I'm also trying not to trash your
Oh,
floor.
I don't care. Oh my gosh, this phone is a little bit sensitive. Sorry guys, I just got a new phone, which is part of the reason for the technical difficulties. I'm, what can I say? I got fat thumbs.
And hands.
What's your favorite plant? Oh, me. I'm Rachel O'Leary, not you. Well, no. What's your favorite plant, Kevin?
Oh, my favorite plant? Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know. I think right now what I've been loving the most, I've actually rotated back to an old classic, and that's the Dwarf baby tuners. Lately I've been all about slow creeping plants.
Apparently it's buffering, so we'll give everyone a second to refresh. Sorry about that, guys. Can't be helped. Oh, gotta love the internet. So I have to apologize to you guys. If you've been around for a while, you know that I live in the absolute middle of nowhere. And one of the reasons I don't do a ton of live streams anymore is that our internet is a bit inconsistent. There's definitely not any high-speed fiber optic options here. There's really no options here, so you do what you can do. I would not recommend using black tea bags, Genevieve. They have caffeine, which would not be good for your fish. You can use the red bush teas, things like rooibos, or you can use things like leaf litter that you soak and then apply the tea in that way, but I would not recommend using a normal black tea. Almond leaves are fantastic. Oak leaves, maple leaves, mulberry leaves. Many of those found, most of the hardwoods and a lot of the fruit trees are just fine as far as creating a tea. You just want to make sure you collect them from an area where no pesticides have been used. And make sure you give them a really thorough rinse and knock off any surface dust before you do brew your tea. Personally, I just like to add them to my aquarium and let them tint the water in that way.
I'm trying to space these plants out so that they'll get a nice little growth. And as it grows out, again, you'll have a nice little cascade effect. These grooves are not for aesthetics, they're for plants to grow.
Yeah, they're to hold the plant in place.
Yeah.
Sort of like Velcro.
I do. I have Velcro for you.
Oh, how exciting. Do you want me to get water prepped? Are you getting close to flooding?
I am getting very close to flooding.
Okay.
I've gotten so much faster.
Let me show you guys how fast my water prep is. I just have to grab the hose. Water is prepped. So to use this, you just slide this thing back, and then you can turn the valve.
Wow. Like when I was a dishwasher many, many years ago.
Can't fast forward real life. Sorry about that unfiltered aquarist.
What's going on?
Someone said they wish they could fast forward to see the finished product, and I said you can't fast forward real life.
It's almost there. I'm going to add the substrate and a little more sphagnum moss, and then we're done. There used to be a joke many years ago about people would come up when I'm aquascaping and constantly say, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?"
Right.
Because I used to just take so long because I was so precise. Now I'm just la-di-da.
Someone's asking if we still have our first ever tank. My first ever tanks were when I was growing up. My first ever tank as an adult, I still own the aquarium, but it's not currently running. I do still have my first ever planted tank running though. It's one of my little nanos. What is the total cost of this setup? I honestly don't know. Do you know what the price point on the aquarium and the light and stuff is?
It's about $600, $700.
So $600 or $700 setup. So it's an investment, but
Unless you want to hire me, and then I'm $800 a day.
including the tank.
No.
So, you know, I really feel like an aquarium like this, or the mindset that goes into creating something like this, is about statement. And these are tanks that, or setups that you maintain or even evolve throughout time.
I bleed for my art.
You know, so it is an investment, but I think it's pretty obvious, especially sitting next to my other aquariums, how nice this one is. I don't know what I'm going to put in it yet, guys. This is actually the first time I've ever seen it. Kevin showed up at 5:30. I've had people at my house since 11. So I'm getting to experience this truly live with you guys. I'm not sure at all what I'll stock in it. I talked a little bit earlier in the stream about potentially doing some sort of micro crabs and shrimp. I'm really not sure though. I'm going to have to watch it, see how it grows, see how everything does, and really go from there. It's not big enough for mud skippers.
Oh no. Maybe goldfish.
It's not big enough for axolotl. That was a funny joke. You got to think it's essentially a 10-gallon tank, but it has a very big surface area, which means it would be excellent for things like shrimp that really benefit from that gas exchange through the bigger footprint, but it's a very shallow tank. I could theoretically put something like chili raspberries in there. I could try and get in some of the Danianella translucinda, the little tiny micro glassfish. I could do all sorts of things, but I'm not sure. You know, I have to get to know it first. It's sort of like when you get a new pet, you have to get to know it before you name it. I feel the same way about this. Although Kevin already named this scape.
I did. Bridget, after the goddess of farming and fertility.
That's funny. That's real funny.
So one of the things that's really nice about like a tank with this particular tank and its dimensions is that you really, as you said, get a nice gas exchange. If you're doing a low-tech tank, for instance, a lot of gas exchange is really, really great. You know, it's one of the ways you can get around injecting CO2 is if you have a lot of water ripples and a lot of space.
So people that are just joining us, this is an Ultum Nature System 60S, correct? And it has the Titan 1 LED light. He's going to be utilizing contra soil, and it's being planted with mini Christmas moss and Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo, mini Christmas moss,
and the Parvula dwarf hairgrass,
yep,
as well as some ficuses. And the stuff that he's packing in around it is long fiber sphagnum to help maintain humidity. This thing is going to have a pump that trickles water over the surface of the stone and back down into the aquarium.
And normally I plan a lot more than this, but we're going to see how it grows. It's really, really hot down here. And
part of that is because my central air is dead. The new one's getting installed Wednesday. That'll help a lot.
Rachel, you're killing me here.
Oh, it's been killing me. The filtration is just like a canister filter.
Yeah.
It's not important really which one. It's just for turnover.
I mean, this setup is actually, because it's a giant piece of lava stone, it is a filter.
Yeah, I mean, the pumice and lava are absolutely exceptional, as every single surface of them is great biological filtration. The stone is called feather stone, which is similar to like pumice or lava and basalt, right?
Yes.
So it's like a layered stone that occurs in fast-moving volcanic areas, and it's pretty neat. It's very light, it's very porous, it's also very sharp. Let's see, what am I missing in the chat? Yeah, shrimp are always awesome in this scape. The only thing one thing that I would be really interested to see is with the merging of the two rocks, shrimp are not at all afraid to climb up out of the water to graze. It may be kind of neat to see if they try and get up onto those plants that are going to be, you know, wet but not flooded. Could be a fun experiment. I wish I had access to Atuoida Felipe, the green lace shrimp, because they would love this.
Why do you talk dirty like that to me?
Do I have any advice for cherry shrimp? I have tons of videos about them, honestly.
Oh, I've been looking for you.
Your paintbrush?
Yeah.
Why didn't you say something? I got one in my toolkit.
It's okay. So one of the things that's important to remember about this scape is, that it is going to be like a work in progress. I will have to come back and, check on it, see how it's going, maybe replant it. Sometimes with immersed growth stuff, strange things can take them out. So you just got to keep an eye on it.
And just to refresh your memory, if you just joined us, this is contra soil, which is
So this isn't contra soil.
oh no, that's gravel.
That's just gravel?
Yeah, that's gravel for underneath contra soil.
I'm using dark gravel because I know that you're going to put something in here that needs to be seen better. Normally I use white sand, which are very, very fish-centric, shrimp-centric, and it just looks better with a darker substrate.
I agree. The long fish in the back, the big boys that are swimming around, that is Polypterus and Licari are saddled biker. They're my pets. Any other questions for us? We had a bit of a few-minute delay as I dealt with those technical difficulties. I will be fixing the thumbnail and the title of this, don't you worry. I just didn't want to keep you guys waiting. I know how it is when things are scheduled. I just never would have expected my camera to go all wonky like that. That was certainly an adventure.
Did you end up using any of the concept art that I gave you?
That's what I had as the thumbnail, but then when I had to restart the stream, I have no idea what it is. Meredith, yeah, it will be up later, and I'm also shooting from multiple cameras, so I will be doing a full-length video as well.
What do you guys think of this scape?
Hold on, I'm changing batteries. Could I show aquascaping tools in another video? Absolutely, that's actually a really great idea. Thanks for the content. But I think, like what tools you need really depends on what you're doing. I am a firm believer in that tools do make a job easier, whether you're doing carpentry around your house, whether you're cooking in the kitchen, or whether you're aquascaping in the aquarium. Having tools that are an extension of your hand and that really feel right in your hand just makes every job easier. That big rock is not going to fall, for someone who just said. It has a 2-foot dowel that is drilled through both pieces, and it's mounted onto a glass plate on the bottom. It's extremely sturdy. Number one recommendation for ammonia tests, I prefer liquid tests. Sarah makes some good ones. API makes some good ones.
Sorry, Rachel.
My floor was hungry. Let me tilt you down just a tiny bit. Your big head and your hands won't fit in the same frame. There we go. A small bonsai tree, that was the plan. It does have a couple little ficus salicifolia, I believe it was. But some of them didn't make the trip well. It's been pretty hot, and they came all the way from Brooklyn, so they will be added later. So we'll have bonsais growing out of the top.
I'm just going to step in front of the camera if nobody minds. Sure.
Pull your pants up.
Yep.
That's my mom words. Oh, it's going to look so nice there. Man, look at that.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
I'm glad you're leaving some space behind it because I plan to paint that block wall.
Oh, yeah?
So, I mean, I have lots of plans in this world. Lots and lots of plans. We'll see which of them actually happen. Yes, there will be water flowing down the rock. He's going to be flooding it here shortly. you guys will get to see that, and I'm sure the filter will be hooked up as well so that we can see it in action. And then I'll take you guys in for a closer look. Right now, the reason I'm not moving you is I have a microphone thing because you guys always complain about the sound in my fish room, and a battery pack powering everything that's happening here. Is that little camera? Yep, it is. Never mind. Man, you guys are picky. My wall doesn't look right. You know, this is a basement. It is what it is. And I like it. Do you need a, oh, Jen still has my colander. Never mind.
I just want to go slow and get the sphagnum to expand.
Right.
Get the soil a little wet.
I think he has it placed where it is, guys, because where the light is hung. As long as I can still get to my Shelleys, we're good.
Oh, I kept that in mind. Don't worry.
Any other questions out there?
So here we go. We're gonna flood it.
Do you need the filter filled, or is it?
Oh, I'm gonna prime it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put some water in here.
The sphagnum, you just add water to it so it'll expand.
Yeah, we don't want
Because
it
it was
flowing
put in
wet.
there dry. It doesn't swell that much, it just...
Just enough.
Again, for those of you that are just joining us, this is the Ultum Nature System 60S, the Titan 1 LED light, and the stone is featherstone, and it's planted with Monte Carlo, a dwarf ficus, some dwarf hairgrass, and some mini Christmas moss. The Monte Carlo was tissue culture, the moss was grown on mesh, and the hairgrass was tissue culture, and then it has the dwarf ficuses were cultivated in Kevin's shop, which is brooklynhardscape.com. And the rock is featherstone. The stone will be hydrated as it has, he has it drilled so that the tube goes through the rock and out the top. So part of it'll just flow down the rock into the filter and then come back out at the top of the rock. That wasn't very coherent, but I hope you guys understood what I meant. How do you find a girlfriend who's into fish stuff? Start going to your fish club. Go to fish events.
Yeah. A lot of experience. Lots of cute girls last year.
Are there going to be plants in the bottom? Kevin isn't putting any, but you guys know me.
No, you always gotta touch stuff.
I never leave anything alone. How big of a filter or water pump would something like this need to have the head distance, but not spray things everywhere?
Hold on a sec.
Think y'all get a lot of evaporation with this
Yeah, you get a lot.
setup? Yeah, I mean, but I don't have lids on any of my aquariums, so that's not really an issue. And being as this is what I do for my whole life, it's not a problem for me to keep an eye on the water level and top off as needed. How long did it take to carve or build the rock from start to finish?
A week.
A week. That's a long time. I'm very thankful. Thank you, Kevin.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, how do you turn this?
Slide the thing back.
Thank you. Where's the bun?
I don't know if that's put in.
Oh yeah, that's like it.
You around the back. The back of the stand is open. And there's an outlet right
got the extension cord. I saw that power strip and I just assumed it was...
No, that power strip is from probably circa 2010 fish room. I didn't even know it was there, in all honesty. I think no one saw that, huh? I just almost dumped myself on the floor. Executed with elegance.
I always have a power strip and an extension cord in my install kit.
You want me to move that card out of the way?
Sure.
Is that enough? More?
Oh, we're good. Oh, I hate spiders.
Oh, it's almost beer o'clock. It's gonna taste like celebration.
And now time for some magic.
I'll take you guys in closer for the money shot. Is that appropriate to say on YouTube? I'm not sure that it is. So pretend I said the magic. Oh, did you plug it into a timer box or is it into...
No, it's gone.
Okay. Oh, there it is. So you can see it flows down there. And because he carved all these channels, it'll follow the channels because water always takes the path of least resistance. And it'll keep that sphagnum hydrated and water the plants. So this is basically a well-oxygenated immersed setup on top of an aquarium. Pretty neat. Show you guys some of the rock work. You can see it comes off the bottom here. And that allows for the oxygen exchange. So you get a nice ripple effect across the surface of the water. Very beautiful, very serene.
And this should take some time to grow in. We're going to do some touch-ups after we're done filming, but I'm pretty satisfied with it. I know Ricky isn't.
Any other questions for Kevin before we end this live stream? I'd like to thank all of you, and most especially Ultum Nature Systems, for providing us with the opportunity to share this with you guys. We just hooked up the filter for the person who asked if we're filtering it. It's got a canister filter, and the entire rock acts as a filter. And this is called a Pengjing.
Pengjing?
Pengjing.
I've been saying it wrong the whole day.
Which is basically a Chinese art form where you mimic nature in miniature. So as the trees grow in, it will look more like a landscape and less like a big rock. Oh, technical difficulty.
No, it's fine.
Too much?
Yeah. It'll take some time before you put it on full blast.
So are you staying here for the next week to make sure it doesn't...
Yeah.
All right, any last questions? Does it have a light? Yes, it has the Titan 1 Ultum Nature System LED light that has...
200 diodes.
From 9,000 to 12,000 color spectrum. And yeah, there's the clear cord I was telling you guys about. At some point, I may readjust how this is hanging. I don't know. It looks fine, but it's a little crooked, Kevin.
I'm going to lower it down to about here, actually.
Yes, it is very much combining a bonsai mentality with aquascaping. Weight concerns for cracking the bottom. No, what you can't see now if you just joined us is the entire thing is also on a piece of plate glass to disperse the weight across the whole aquarium so that there's not any pressure points. I think it's lovely. Let's take one more close look at the water flow. Get your fat meat paws out of my shot. And so make sure you guys are subscribed with your notifications on so that you can see updates on this. I think it's going to be pretty fun to watch it grow, and I think Kevin's going to come back in the next few weeks to add the rest of the ficus and just check in on it. So if you'd like to see him in more videos, let me know in the comments section, and I'll make sure that happens. And also, remember, he's going to be doing a scape with our friend Ricky on his Ultum Angel aquarium, 150 gallon, which is quite a bit larger than this little 60S. So if you guys have any more questions about this, put them in the comments, and Kevin and I will both be paying attention to that. And thanks as always for your continued support. Make sure you show Ultum Nature System some love on Instagram, as well as visiting their website where they have a bunch of guides as well as all their products. And of course, make sure you show me some love by giving this video a thumbs up. We'll see you again soon.